Hi, guys. Welcome to another exciting episode of the podcast called the Break Room Podcast. And these are your hosts, myself, Rob Franzese, we got Clemente, we got Vin Vitale, we got Zach Rudd, and we got Chris Sweet.
Yeah.
It's not sweet enough.
That's
But
right.
we're doing our Batman episode. We just saw Batman in the theaters with Robert Pattinson, I think they're calling him now.
Jeez.
I thought he did. We'll get into what we thought, but I think he did a really good job as Batman. His Bruce Wayne was a little emo-ish for me, but other than that, I really, really appreciate seeing the detective side of Batman. But we're gonna go around. We're gonna talk about the things that we liked, things we didn't like. We had to bring on my little furry son here, Joey Katana, because he is the biggest Batman fan alive, and this is his little stuffed Batman doll on the table that is his prized possession in the world. And
what else?
We couldn't not include him. And then this is one of the little blacklight reactive Funko Pops that I got, which is pretty cool. And then one last thing I want to shout out before we go around is this was a gift from my friend Marina. She's an absolute sweetheart. We used to work with her. And we used to watch Batman the Animated Series together, and she painted this for me because we kept watching the scene where Harvey Dent gets his face blown off over and over.
Harvey.
Because when Batman sees him, he's just like, Harvey, no. And we laughed so hard over that scene that she actually painted this little thing for me. So shout out to Marina. I'm very proud of you. I love you. Good luck in school. And this is the Batman episode. Batman was my favorite superhero as a little kid. If you asked, like, 5-year-old Rob, who's your favorite superhero? It was Batman, hands down. And for, like, 3 or 4 years in a row, I wore the same Michael Keaton Batman costume for Halloween.
Batman.
I would not dress as anything other than him. First costume I ever did was Raphael from the Ninja Turtles. And then, like, 3 years after that, it was just Batman. And I was super hyped to see the movie. I went in with zero expectations because I didn't watch any of the trailers. I didn't read any of the reviews. I take every review that I see with a grain of salt because I usually don't agree with what people have to say about movies. They'll say, oh, this is trash, that's trash, I hated The Matrix. I like The Matrix. I like the new Matrix. Was it a perfect movie? No, but I'm not looking for the perfect movie. I'm looking to go enjoy a movie. So for this movie, I have to say they did the job. I got to see more detective Batman than I have ever seen in another movie. If I wanted to compare it to another iteration of Batman, I'd say this is closest to, like, say, the Arkham Asylum game, specifically. Yes, Arkham City and some of their sequels did have some detective work, and yeah, with the Riddler and stuff, there was a lot of puzzles that you had to solve. But Arkham Asylum specifically was about Batman being a detective. And I
Even
really,
his armor.
really was excited to see this movie. And I thought that the new Batmobile was really cool. I thought that his outfit was great. And I appreciate that this is a year 2 Batman. So we have to go into there with that expectation that he's not the seasoned veteran crime fighter that we're used to in most of the iterations. He is a brand new superhero. He kind of got some of his initial kinks out. So he has some of his gadgetry. But what he's missing is that seasoned, confidence.
Yeah.
There's a scene where, like, he kind of, like, stands, and now, just so you know, we do have spoilers in this episode. So if you haven't seen Batman yet, for some reason, after a week of being out, that's on you. But this is a spoiler episode. But there is a scene where he is about to leap off of a building, like we've seen him do so many times through so many movies, and he hesitates for the first time on camera. Batman doesn't take that leap of faith. And he has to, like, change his outfit into, like, almost like a flying squirrel suit, which is it's a wingsuit.
His reaction, though, was really awkward. It was like, "Ooh, with the vipers."
But and then I also appreciate, like, later in the movie where, like, he's trying to, like, I guess chase. What was he? He was trying to chase the penguin,
right.
and he ends up, like, falling and limping away, and, like, this is some real shit.
My
like,
back.
Like it creates a more interesting Batman because it's a Batman that can be beaten.
Even
You
when
know,
he's
well,
fighting
it's-
people, they're getting a couple of hits in on them.
They are
Mm.
getting hits
You know?
on him. So
He's
this is not the invincible Batman. This
Mm.
isn't like this guy is like a fucking shadow. He
Right.
knows every martial arts to the max, and like he's like
kind of approaching all the fights head on.
it's like a maxed out character walking around with noobs. It's like
Yep.
But he's not maxed out. He's
that's
not
not the
maxed out yet.
Batman from this movie. So if that's what you're expecting, don't go in with those expectations.
He's like a level 20 right now. He's not.
He's level 20. He's not. He's out of the starting zone, but he's
Yeah.
also not ready for his first raid. You know?
Don't
just
start
got-
talking about.
He just got the class upgrade, you know, like he got his second tier. He got
But I've
the
spoken enough
abilities.
about Batman. I think we're gonna hand it over to Joe. What did you like? What did you not like?
Are you going to score it? You gonna-
Am I going to score? Well, I did give a little. My first impression of it. I said between 8.5 and 9.
which one is it though?
It's what I'll go in the middle.
There you go.
I'll do like an 8.7. I'll do
Solid score.
closer. I'll do closer
Solid.
to 8.7 because I don't think it was an 8.5. But a 9 movie really has to like sell me.
Mm.
And what I'm basing that on is the fact that I saw this movie. I'll probably see it again when I watch it with my dad, but I don't feel the need to ever watch it again. Like it's like,
Gotcha.
oh well, this is required viewing multiple times.
Yeah.
I thought everybody did a fantastic job. Colin Farrell as the
Oh, man.
Penguin
Unreal.
Yeah.
was like excellent. And what's
Insane.
really cool is I heard that he's supposed to get some kind of spin-off show on his own with that
Sick.
character, the Penguin, which is
Right.
really promising considering his role in that movie. And it's fun because he rubs shoulders with some of his rogues gallery, but it's very Batman for him to force them to help him try to take down their colleagues, and
Yeah.
and it's a lot of fun. But
Before you bounce over,
sure.
one thing I have, I question the thing you say about needing to watch it more than once. I disagree because I think that a really good movie really only needs one viewing. Because if it's a good movie, it should tell you and show you everything in that one sitting, and you should be able to understand and appreciate everything it had in one sitting. Like, Batman's on a movie, you're going back for the deeper meaning of things, and I think the fact that you got it all in one viewing and it was the experience you were hoping for, I think that's better than needing to go back and rewatch it 2 to 3 more times. I feel like if anything, it's worse if you need to go back and see it 2 to 3 times because you missed
disagree.
something. But if you want to, that's fine, because that is a mark of a good movie if you love it that much. But there's also good movies that, I mean, you're probably not gonna go rewatch like, a Tarantino film or like Full Metal Jacket
I
or
can't say that because I do
How many
like
times I've
watching
watched-
Kill Bill over.
How many
and
times
over.
I've watched
Tarantino
Pulp
movies
Fiction?
over and
I
over.
still
I've seen
don't
Pulp
think
But I
Fiction
do
all
get
the
what
way
you're
50
saying.
times.
like
I'm the type of person, and maybe you're a different type of person, but I'm the
Yeah.
type of person. If I really love a movie,
Oh,
I'm going to want to
absolutely.
see it again.
I'm going to buy it
I
too.
would see it again, yes,
Yeah.
but I don't think you should take points off purely because it doesn't have rewatchability. I mean, it does, like you said, but you got it all in one viewing. Like you were
And it
able
was
to
3 hours.
you were
too,
able to
so-
digest it and
It's
view
a
it all.
long. That's the other thing. It's a long commitment
Yeah,
to
no,
sit down for a
3
3-hour
hours,
movie.
But
Now, I don't mind sitting down for 3 hours, 3.5 hours if it's The Godfather, because that movie's never going to get old to me.
Yeah.
But why is that though? What about The Godfather keeps you coming back for more?
Now, it could be just because of nostalgia, because I
Okay.
grew up with The Godfather.
Yeah.
Godfather
Grew up
was
with
like my
Batman.
dad's favorite movie,
Okay.
when I was a kid. And it was almost indoctrinated into us, some of the lessons that they teach in that movie. And cinematically, it's a masterpiece.
It is.
I mean,
It
even nostalgia goggles aside, it's a well shot movie. It's well paced. It's artistic in the film world because of some of the cinematography,
Mhm.
the use of sound and music and suspense and lighting. I mean, the whole movie was just a masterpiece. Even from the beginning to the end, you're sitting through a 3.5 hour movie and you don't feel like you are.
Yeah.
It's one of those movies when it's on television, you can't change the channel.
it's also hard to compare The Godfather to Batman because The Godfather is arguably one of the greatest films ever written, and Batman is a long, tried and tested sort of trilogy.
And the
right?
reason
It's
why
a
I'm
story
giving
that's been
it
told a million different
direct
times in a million different ways. So, but The Godfather is The Godfather. So that's something you're going to want to watch a million different, multiple times because it is the only way you can consume that piece of media, or that story. But Batman, you can see it a million different ways reflavored. So I think watching it once and coming out with a good feeling about it and really enjoying it, like again, but that's my thought.
Why don't you finish your thought? We'll just go to you next, since you already started that
No,
way.
we'll bounce back to you.
No, you're next. You already started talking. Go ahead and
Well, that
finish.
was just I just questioned.
There's no particular order, so you might as well keep the ball rolling.
I give it a 9.5. I thought it was a masterpiece of a superhero film. I don't know. It's hard to really get any better than that in terms of a Batman movie, in my opinion. I mean, you had everything from this very narrow focused cinematography. You have the lighting, very moody and dark, like grim. The music, the score. One of the big things I harp on a lot in a movie is the score. How does the score make you feel? A score is a very powerful thing when it's done well. When it's shit, oh boy, like Batman with some Looney Tunes soundtrack. The fuck is this? But when you have someone like Hans Zimmer or Michael Giacchino who's scoring it, like it just elevates.
Who did this score?
Michael Giacchino.
Okay.
He did the Rogue One score. I think he might have done the Spider-Man score, if I'm not mistaken, as well. Spider-Man No Way Home score. But the way that they used the music in that movie to enhance the feeling of certain themes was really powerful. The themes where Batman was doing his really cool detective work and the way they really elevated that. They used like a very like it's common if you've played like any I don't know a stealth section in like I don't know GTA I guess or LA Noire when you're doing detective work or any detective based work in a game. There's a very constant theme that's sort of memorable, which is like a low hum from like lower like orchestra, like a cello or a bass, and then usually you have the higher pitched instruments like the viola and the violins that are like plucking that is supposed to almost emulate like this constant like drip or tension exactly, and it's like what's building up to next, and they use that a lot in the detective work that Batman was doing, which I thought was phenomenal because it really makes it adds that extra tension to the scene that a lot of detective,
it's like a noir.
Yeah, exactly. It gives it that old feeling that Gotham really portrayed. It was old.
It was a modern
grimy.
movie, but it felt like that noir.
Exactly.
Gangster,
It gave it that noir, grim, feel, the moody feel that Batman deserves in his movies. I mean, overall, like to me, this is a masterpiece of a superhero film in its own specific way. I mean, I'm sure a lot of you are gonna be like, "Well, Endgame was really good." Yeah, Endgame is good, but like, Endgame is like a popcorn like kind of movie fun. It's a different kind of fun than the Batman.
It's a blockbuster.
It's a blockbuster where the Batman is its own sort of thing because it's not a popcorn beat the shit out of everyone kind of thing. It's a build up. It's an intense sort of not necessarily thought provoking, but it's tense. It's more mature. It's its own sort of blockbuster, and
there's definitely a tonal difference between Marvel and DC.
Certainly. And I hope they keep that tonal difference with their newer movies coming out. Like Black Adam is one that I think is exciting moving forward. The Rock's big debut with DC. The Flash, I think Flashpoint. I think that's what it is.
Yeah,
Flashpoint. Hopefully they try and keep some kind of more mature theme to that. I mean, DC's found the right formula finally. They just got to run with it, and if they don't, well.
And you can't take away from DC with animated movies.
No, DC's the best. DC's the best with animated
hands
movies.
Down make the best animated movies.
Different segment. I mean, I think it's undisputed. DC does the best animated movies.
That's why I appreciate that there's a Marvel and a DC because who wins in the end?
There's different. There's different. There's different things that they're better at, but people have just been wanting good DC movies, like actual live action movies, for a while. I think the Batman really, it really finally did DC fans justice. So yeah, I thought it was fucking amazing. I'm gonna go see it again. Probably I'll wait till it goes on streaming like HBO Max.
It's gonna be like a few weeks.
Days.
Yeah, I'll wait for it to come on then, but I'll watch it at home, and I thought it was fucking amazing.
And you're sticking with the 9.5?
Absolutely.
All right, Joe.
We're just gonna crisscross.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. I really enjoyed it. I'm a huge Batman fan. For me, Batman is as important as He-Man or Thor is to you, Rob. So for me, like I grew up on the '66 Batman, '89 Batman, the Super Friends Batman. So I was like hyped for this. Like I was extremely hyped for this, and it delivered. It was a very very good movie. It was unlike any other Batman movie that we had seen previously. It was very grounded. You got a very grounded take on Gotham, on the neighborhood, on the Iceberg Lounge, things like that. And yeah, he is a little clumsy. He's not as actually smooth and proficient in his, gadgetry or his martial arts as someone who's, been doing this for 15 years, just second year. Um, Saying that aside, I really loved Catwoman. I thought by far she stole the show for me, and I have a huge crush on her now. So Zoe Kravitz, wow,
Smoking.
she is the hottest Catwoman that we've ever seen on screen. Period. And I thought Colin Farrell for me like was the showstopper.
Yeah.
You can't even tell that that's him in that makeup and that kind of
Oh yeah.
outfit. I thought he was awesome. It kind of reminisced me and gave me kind of the vibes of like Al Pacino and Dick Tracy. They played Big Boy. Big Boy did it. Big Boy did it. Big Boy did it. Big Boy did it.
20 seconds, no more dick.
So yeah, I agree. It definitely had that noir feel. I'm finally getting to see like Batman do some detective work, which was what we were kind of missing in some of the other movies that came out. And yes, it was a lot like Arkham Asylum, and even his armor at certain points looked reminiscent of the Arkham Asylum, armor that he had and the
Thought it was
cowl
cool
and things like that.
his symbol was an actual batarang.
Right, he just popped it off and he could chuck it or slice something open. Really, really cool. All that aside, I thought the Riddler was fantastic. Definitely creepy. He had that psychological, Chris coined it as like the Zodiac killer, and it was definitely like very, very reminiscent of that. I really enjoyed that. I gave the movie an 8.5. And for me, an 8.5 is a very, very high score. 8.5 means it's very, very good. If you give something a 9.5, if I gave something a 9.5, that means it's the greatest thing I've ever seen. It's an all-time classic. It's one of the best movies I've ever seen. So it's very hard for me to go that route. And I disagree with you about, having to see a movie over and over again. I think the feeling that you get once you come out of the theater, and we do have our reactions instantly when we came out of the theater, Vin. I think you just posted that recently.
Mm-hmm.
So you can see our instant reactions of how we felt as soon as we finished watching it on Wednesday, which we got to see it a couple days early, which was cool. Shout out to that theater, by the way, and as a great choice, Rod. That theater was awesome.
Yeah, that was the AMC Dine-In in East Northport, corner of Comac Road and Larkfield Road.
Yeah, that was good.
And
really good.
It's
You
kind
can
of
get a
like
burger.
it's off
Yeah.
the beaten path. It's like not one of those
New, clean,
very very busy movie theaters. I don't think there's too
No.
many theaters in there, but the quality of the theaters in there are
Yeah.
higher. They have the recliner seats. They
Yep.
have a full cocktail bar.
Yep.
They have food that can be delivered to your seat. It was a bougie movie going experience, and I'm glad I got to go there twice in the same week because I got to go see The Godfather, which is why I compared it to
Yeah.
Batman, because I had just seen it in the same theater nonetheless in Dolby Digital, which was really cool.
Definitely worth it. It's not, every month, every year that we get to see a 3-hour movie and all get together. So I'm happy we got to see that together. I'm happy we got to see it in a really quality movie theater. Now, on to my nitpicks about the movie. I liked Robert Pattinson's Batman. I did not like his Bruce Wayne.
Yeah.
His Bruce Wayne felt very dry. It lacked charisma. And I know he's still kind of mourning, but it was 20 years ago that his parents were killed. So he's had 20 years to kind of train and become into the Batman, hero and things like that. But you'll see for yourselves when you watch the film, the voice that he does for Batman is the same voice he does for Bruce Wayne. It's just awkward. It's flat. And for me, that's kind of like where my nitpicks start. I just didn't like his take on Bruce Wayne. Like, you have to have some sort of charisma if you're like the billionaire playboy. I know he's not that yet.
Yep.
And what I'm going to combat that with is if you see Batman Begins, well, he's not that yet, because this is Batman Begins was actually year one. So he's even younger than Robert Pattinson was in this film. And he showed tons of charisma in Batman Begins. And his Bruce Wayne, I thought, was really, really good.
Oh, I know what you're saying, though. I know you're just talking about Nolan's Begins.
Right.
I mean, even then, you can see in the flashbacks how like awkward that he is, like Christian Bale is. But no, I agree.
But
Like, this was a little over
he
the
doesn't
top.
have that flat monotone like voice.
Whisper.
Like the voice he portrayed for Bruce Wayne was the exact same voice he did for Batman. It just
Like,
didn't. If you
yeah.
close your eyes, you don't know who's on screen.
Yeah.
Like you have no idea. It was just awkward.
Like, he has been a billionaire his
Yeah,
whole life,
yeah.
regardless. So he,
Yeah.
He's also,
despite being
like,
a reclusive,
yeah,
It's
and
a
he's in
fit-
his 30s. He's got to be like 28 to 30 in this range. So it's not like he's like a kid. You know, he's a grown ass man in this movie.
there's a lot of examples of, like, I don't know, Batman Earth 2, let's call it, the comic series, where I think they went a little younger with the Batman and Superman characters, and they went a little bit more like, again, we're going to keep repeating this kind of like gritty, darker
Right.
kind of tone. And I feel like this is what they were modeling.
Yeah, it had like a real
I
Sin
agree.
City kind of vibe to it.
This is
Yeah.
also the first
But
time
no,
we've seen a Bruce
it's-
Wayne that's not like appreciative of his Alfred.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point. He really was.
And
kinda
he's like,
dissing
"You're not my
Alfred.
father." He's just, you know.
Yeah, but that came full circle. They tied that thread
Sure,
up
but,
by
like-
having him. You know, they had a nice moment that made me feel good when they.
Yeah,
when he
but the
was laying
moment was
there.
like he didn't even have any kind of like change in his like tone or change in his like.
He didn't even seem concerned.
He didn't
It
even
was like
seem
the
concerned.
first thing he
Well,
said
when he
Yeah,
was
it's
driving
a little-
over, when he was
it's a
driving in the
little Twilight.
Batmobile and he
It's
was
a
screaming,
little
Listen,
Twilight.
wait your turn. You can give your reaction. This is my opinion. An opinion is like an asshole. Everybody's got one. So this is what we do this for. Everybody's not going to agree. Everyone's going to have different reactions, different takes on it. But yeah, overall, I thought it was an excellent movie. You should definitely see it. I'll give you an example of why I feel it is necessary for a movie to have a 9.0 or higher to be warranted to see a second time. Because as soon as I came out of The Dark Knight, I had to see it again. Like I had to see those scenes with Heath Ledger as a Joker. To me, this movie did not have any memorable scenes.
Yeah,
Like it's
nothing
been a couple of days since we haven't seen it. I can't really put.
quotable. Nothing quotable.
There's nothing quotable. There's no like iconic
You have a lot
scenes.
of
There's
cats.
nothing that you can kind of like really like go to.
Yeah. I see what
It
you're
just
saying.
didn't have that rewatchability as some of the other Batman movies. Like I can watch Batman '89 any day of the week for Jack Nicholson. As much as I loved all the villains in this movie, there's nothing there that kind of like, oh, I got to see this again. Like when you saw Spider-Man, like, oh, I want to see it again, and you saw it 3 times.
Yeah.
You went 2 days in a row, and then you came to see it with us a third time because you
Yep.
had to see those scenes again.
Yeah.
Because that's what brings you back. To me, that's what warrants something in the 9 range. So
Yeah.
that's why my 8.5 is what it is. Nitpicks aside, awesome movie.
Hell yeah.
That's fair. I mean, we have a different idea on the 9 scale because your 9 is a little different than my 9, which
If I go
Perfectly
9, that
fair.
means it's on the upper echelon of the movies I've seen
Yeah.
in my entire life.
But then, what's
Let's-
the difference between a 9 and a 10? I mean,
There's
I
no-
don't
there's
think
no
there's
10.
such
thing as a
thing.
10.
No 10.
yeah, there's
So
no,
you guys subscribe to the no such thing as a 10. I don't believe in that.
Perfection is.
there's no such thing as perfection.
You're always chasing.
See, but if a
perfection, and that's the
professor
goal.
didn't give you 100 or an A and didn't give you,
Well,
a
this
fu-
isn't
you-
school. This is grading a movie. It's
This is
totally
yeah,
different.
This is
We're not
subjective,
rating it off of
objective.
like you're answering questions and you got them right
That's
or
your
wrong.
opinion. My opinion is you have to be able to rate something a 10, or what the fuck
Okay,
is it there for?
So let's go ahead and go into that, Chris. What was your score and what was your take on the movie?
So, when I saw the movie, I really didn't even care to see it. I don't have this huge affinity towards Batman. But I was very pleasantly surprised. That was I don't care about any of these actors really. Colin Farrell's pretty cool. But every one of them impressed me. They developed 3 really strong villains. Like every one of those villains was good in its own way. Falcone and that actor that plays him, John Turturro, I think his name is.
He's
You don't fuck
he-
with the
the
Jesus.
Jesus.
Nobody fucks
Great
with the
actor.
Jesus.
You
You
said
know?
it, man.
He played a good villain. I liked his character. The Penguin,
Awesome.
everybody agrees he
Ridiculous.
was a great portrayal, and there were points where he
But
was
he-
even a little bit of like comedic, because I think
He's-
Joe, you might have said that there wasn't any comedy in it, and I like that because Marvel is always throwing in their little jokes and everybody's laughing and having a good time, and for me, I feel like DC's like, no, we're not fucking around, we're not having fun here. This sucks, but we're gonna get through it, and it's fucking crazy, and. But the little bit that was there was the Penguin kind of just when he's left there, like, you're gonna fucking leave me here, that was great. And then the Riddler too, man. I thought he did a fantastic job. That's what domestic extremism looks like nowadays to a degree. That whole internet aspect, how people are like watching him on the internet and cheering him on. Like I thought that was kind of cool.
Very relevant.
I did call it
Definitely
with the
relevant.
Zodiac Killer. I
Yep.
thought that was, you know, it was very.
QAnon.
I said in the other episode, I did a report on the Zodiac Killer, and like a lot of that stuff is right. The ciphers, all of that shit, and the way that it really did. I mean, he brought terrorizing the city to a whole nother level. He literally fucking flooded the entire city. But
Gotham Square Garden.
you know, but yeah, Madison Square. That Rob was next to me. I started laughing when they had
Both
Gotham Square
hysterical.
Garden. It's such a fucking cheap knockoff Madison
supposed to
Square
be.
Garden. I know.
supposed to relate it to.
That's
reality.
the thing too with Gotham. I always kind of looked at Gotham as like you guys all say crazy, but I always saw it as kind of like a Detroit or Chicago. I never really saw it as New York City. I saw it as a mix, like a little bit of New York City.
No,
Crazy
it's
shit I've
absolutely
ever
New
heard.
York City.
I didn't really see any other ones. I kind of just got like this. It
No,
didn't-
no, no. The allegory was supposed to be that Gotham was Manhattan by night and Metropolis is Manhattan by day. That's really what it's supposed to be. But their actual New York City exists.
I guess
in
compared
DC
to, like,
universe, too,
Spider-Man,
so
where it
Gotham
is-
isn't New York.
Yeah, like compared to Spider-Man, where it is Manhattan. You know what I mean? But that's always the vibes I got. But this felt like a very New York kind of.
I think that's why I
Batman.
preferred Marvel as a kid too. Like I love Batman singularly from DC, but I love the Marvel comics more, and I always have, and I still do, because they're playing in our backyard. They're in our
Right.
cities
Yeah.
doing stuff in our
It's
world.
New York,
You know, as opposed to these fictitious cities like
Right.
Bloodhaven and Gotham and Metropolis and Star City, and none of those places exist.
Right.
So
But
they're
despite all
truly
of that,
fantasy.
Despite all of that, what I really appreciated about this one was it was, in a lot of ways, very grounded in reality.
Mm.
It was not,
Mhm.
this blockbuster Marvel film that you're saying like you'll go and see Spider-Man over and over again, but they didn't take nearly as many liberties. And as I've said in one of the first episodes, I always find when I watch these Marvel movies that there's just so many plot holes that I'm like, why would he do that when he could have just done this? But this was so grounded in reality. When he goes running, we already mentioned when he jumps off the building with the wingsuit and then he crashes. Like, that shows that he doesn't develop the skills yet to do this right. And I think over the next few movies, you're going to see him eventually start to be able to soar and get the hang of that shit.
Mhm.
But that was probably his first time doing it, and he fucking fell, and then he just gets up. He's like,
I've never seen Iron Man
Right?
1.
and then he like kind of just gets up and
Has he
walks
not?
away.
guess
But the
so.
other
Limps
thing,
away.
the other thing that I really liked,
Hang
I turned to Joe and I said, "Fucking awesome!" What I really thought was cool was just he wasn't flying around. He ran down the side of a building. He like rappelled down the side of a building.
Yep.
I thought that was cool when he had that thing and he was just running down.
Yep.
And that's kind of grounded to a degree in reality, and I appreciated that.
It's almost reminiscent of the original Iron Man movie, where like it's before Marvel got into the real fantasy, and they're like, "This is a movie that could actually happen." Like,
Right. They showed how he
genius
made
guy creates, like,
Iron
some
Man
kind
from
of
the
like
ground up.
suit and
He hadn't
stuff,
gotten all the kinks out yet.
Yeah.
Got the
Exactly.
reactor.
Yeah.
It's gritty. It's in the ground. We
Right.
don't have superheroes getting involved.
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
guy with his knowledge and his ability against whatever threat he's facing.
Right. And then I like too that I thought that Alfred portrayed pretty good. I'm so used to seeing the
Andy
old
Serkis. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm so used to like the old British Alfred, and see kind of like a younger one. I like that whole arc. Catwoman was great. I feel like they did a good job developing like every single character that they put in that. And as far as Robert Pattinson goes as Batman, like for me, what more can you ask him to do? Like
Batman was great.
The voice, I can agree with that.
I didn't
didn't
say his
think
Batman
about
was
that.
an issue.
I enjoyed the
emo
different
Bruce Wayne.
kind of Bruce Wayne because I'm kind of tired of seeing the playboy billionaire. Everybody treated him the same way. Everybody still was starstruck when they saw him.
Yeah.
But that's Christian Bale's Batman. You know what I mean? This I'm a rich party. Like, I like the idea that he's kind
Not
of like
necessarily,
awkward and a
Chris.
little
Michael-
dorky.
He's
Michael-
developing into it.
Michael Keaton did not have a charismatic Bruce Wayne. In the first Batman, when he's hosting the party, when he's hosting like the casino night,
He had his
Like
way
he-
about
but
him.
he's
though.
very awkwardly moving around. He doesn't really know. Champagne. Yeah, I know what you mean. He did have
You could
a
you
flair
could feel
to
his
him.
heartbeat though. You can feel he had a
Oh
certain
yeah,
like.
no, again,
Yeah.
not trying to do the full blown
It
comparison.
almost like his
but
head was down
there's
the
an-
whole time he was Bruce Wayne in this movie.
I'm with Chris on
And-
this
and-
too, though.
And here's the thing too: is you make a movie that's relatable to your audience. We have
Yeah.
a young, awkward youth out there that
Jesus
is
Christ.
19, not sociable, doesn't really connect.
Awkward.
He's isolated. He's in his basement. He's working on the engines. He's tuning. He's like he said. I spent the
Doesn't have
last 2
friends to
years
speak of,
at
you know,
night. You know, I've spent these last 2 years in the dark. He's wearing sunglasses because he's fucking
Mhm.
completely disconnected.
Maybe he was
I
that
have
kind
some
of
things
happy,
to point out,
charismatic
but-
guy beforehand, but
just to kind of defend
maybe
that.
right now he's not because he's been kind of doing this
Yeah,
shit and he's in a
he's-
funk.
He's
He's
busy.
he's a recluse, and he didn't have anyone to grow up with other than his butler. And you
Right.
know, a butler can only be so much of a father figure in the case of.
and he tried to
Yeah,
neglect
Well, it's
and
his
deny
fault.
him
He's got
as
a lot of
well.
money. He can go out and do whatever he wants.
When you're young though, and you don't know any better. Yeah, you have the money, but you're not going to know how to use it.
He's 30.
Well, he should
but
be,
it's a
I feel like
developing
he's,
from you know.
20, he should be like, I don't know. I don't. they didn't
27,
put-
28, right?
I was thinking 24,
I-
25.
No way.
He'll
I was,
have
thinking, I was thinking young, but I don't know.
I think that the movie tried to show though that he's learning slowly. Somebody mentioned this afterwards that there's the divide between I think you mentioned it. The divide between
Vince said it.
Batman and Bruce Wayne. One of you two.
And
Yeah,
sometimes
Robert
he can
Vin.
get more done as Bruce Wayne than he's going to get done
and
as
that's
Batman.
when he's going to start to learn that he needs to be
So-
charismatic
right.
and
There
a
was-
little more
there
What's
was
social.
great
three
about that
points.
in the Batman animated series too, because they showed that off where
Yeah.
like Bruce Wayne would get into places that Batman couldn't.
Yeah.
Appreciate that in the movie too.
I thought a cool development point was he goes to that same doorway with those stupid twins that answer the door and like, what are you doing, right?
Iceberg Lounge.
And it's actually 3 times that he goes to the door. The first time he's Batman and he gets into a fight, kicks the shit out of them. Second time he goes there and he's Bruce Wayne and they're like, oh, cool, and they let him in. And the third time he just sneaks right past him and closes the door and locks him out. And I thought that was cool. I looked at that as like some sort of development as far as what I want going forward. I think that he will kind of turn into that. He'll as almost like a persona. Bruce Wayne will be another persona of him. It won't really be himself, but maybe he will become that playboy kind of millionaire guy as time goes on.
It's as if they know they would have 3 of these movies.
Right.
I hope
You know
so.
what I'm saying? Like,
I really hope
it's-
so.
They
They're
definitely
writing it
left
in a way that
open-ended
says,
I really hope
hey,
so.
we're going to have at least 2 or 3 of these. So there is going to be, I think, a larger character arc for Bruce and a better development because we got a pretty good one with Christopher Nolan. We did finally see the origins of Batman, which was something that was left out of every movie and you could only read in the comics, right? His initial contact with Ra's al Ghul and the training and all of that. Like, they're not doing that in this, but you could see where from Batman Begins to Dark Knight, how he evolved. We'll definitely see that evolution.
Yeah.
For sure.
Hopefully, he can bring a little more charisma.
Yeah.
I think he can. He's Robert Pattinson, for
Yeah.
Christ's sakes. Like, he's been in Harry Potter. He
Sweet,
did the
you're
Twilight
sticking
thing.
with your
Just
score
like
on that?
Bruce, just like Batman needs to get better at being Batman, Bruce is, I think, going to get better at being that version of Bruce. So I'm going to stick with the 9.4. I definitely think I would watch it again. And I think it's because I had such low expectations that I just expected not to like it. And it really did surprise me. And, I'm going to stick with the 9.4. What
Nice. Strong.
do you got, Vin?
So, any movie that opens up with Something in the Way by Nirvana is going to have a tone. You open up a movie with Nirvana.
I enjoy that
That's
song.
the theme.
Forgot about
Kurt
that.
Cobain, that grunge. This is a grunge movie. It's very gritty and dark.
always raining.
It's always raining. It's always wet. It's claustrophobic almost, and not to a negative place, but you're tight with the character. You're tight with Batman. They have a few scenes where you see him. What is it? One of the times he uses the zip line, and they use a camera shot that's on him, on his face, and as he zooms up, or the time he runs down the wall. They made it like you're very close with him. You're like that's the whole idea is the detective work. You're not observing what Batman's doing. You are with him on that ride. Whereas, let's say I hear you guys keep saying it and I'm rocking it. Marvel. The best part about this is we've been asking for this. DC kept trying to do Marvel. They can't. Stop. Do this.
Right.
This is what we want because it fills a gap of content. I don't need everything to be Marvel. I know what I'm going into when I go see Marvel movies. Fun, great one-liners, lots of humor, cheering moments where you want to jump out of your seat, build up over the course of, a few movies where there's a payoff you're expecting.
Right.
I don't go into this movie with that expectation. So it's legitimately, the problem I have is I'm ranking this against the other DC shit that's come out over the last decade. So when I say 9.0 on my initial reaction, I have fucking Justice League and this other stuff that I consider to be crap compared to this movie. You know what I mean? So I'm always kind of rating on a relative scale, but I understand Joe's point where, yeah, when you get into the whole frame and you pull back to greatest movies of all time, where does it fall? I agree with the assessment that it might not be a 9 to me if I scaled it against every other movie I've ever seen. But in the DC realm of things, and the comic book realm, it's definitely a solid 9. On, the grand scale of things, 8.7, 8.5, very fair. It's a long movie. It's 3 hours, but I never felt it slow down. So as opposed to the payoff moments that Marvel provides, there was a lot of build-up to this. I felt the build-up. And the only thing that disappoints me, and some friends of mine also have this opinion and this kind of way to go about it, they showed too much in the trailers. They gave away big payoff moments, big payoff shots to build hype around the movie. Because, of course, everybody right away is like, Robert Pattinson's Batman, another Batman. It's that same reaction. So
I stopped watching trailers after Batman, Superman ruined like everything for us. Showing Wonder Woman, showing Doomsday. It's like, well, I need to see the movie now. The whole entire plot is ruined. The whole entire get at the end of the movie is the surprise at the end is ruined.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're 100%.
With trailers, less is more. And
as I get older, I start to
no more trailers. Just give us teasers. That's it.
Yeah, yeah, and even I hate to keep saying Marvel shit, but Marvel gives the red herrings. They'll show scenes that maybe aren't in there, or they even build them to throw you off, which can be smart. So again, there was just like 3 major ones. The fight with the hallway gunfight scene where they're shooting the machine guns at Batman. Awesome. Such a amazing use of lighting and cinematography, I guess, stuff that's a little above my head. But when I watched that movie, actually, it's kind of reminiscent of the first half of like the original Matrix.
Yeah.
It really makes me think of the Trinity scene in the apartment, the use of the flashlights to light the scene and really dark corners and shit. So I did appreciate a lot of that and the difference, just the contrast to what we're experiencing when we see a Spider-Man, No Way Home. And of course, I look forward to Doctor Strange equally. So, but there's just room for both. It's not verses. It's not, this is
I'm
great.
not comparing them to Marvel.
No.
How about that car chase?
You see that a lot. It's a common thing. And of course, it strikes a headline. DC versus Marvel, whatever.
The car chase was great, but it was ruined in the trailer.
They blew it in the trailer.
They did blow it in the trailer.
I was gripping, like my fists were clenched during that because, when he's revving up the Batmobile and the hall or the heli, and there's that tension and that build up, and it was ruined by the fact that I knew what was coming, and I was like, shit, man, this would be even better. But they did a really good job
glad I
at
didn't
that.
watch the trailers because that didn't get ruined.
Yeah, they did a very good job with the sensory overload, like just the lights, the rain, just blurs. Like that's really what car chase would kind of look like. Just this overwhelming of the senses, and you're just trying to get the fuck through it.
And it matches Batman so well. That's what Batman is. That's what is great about '89 Batman. That's a gritty city that is like old school 70s New York, like, drugs,
with
crack,
cell
whatever.
phones.
Just absolute disaster.
I did appreciate the relationship between him and Gordon, though. Commissioner Gordon, that was great. When he pulls out the gun, he's like, no guns. He's like, that's a youth thing, man.
It felt like good cop, bad cop in a lot of ways,
Exactly. But that's what Commissioner Gordon
couldn't tell who was good cop or bad
It was
cop.
annoying me that it wasn't happening, and then it finally happened towards the end of the movie where Commissioner Gordon's talking to him, and he turns around and Batman's gone.
Yeah,
because you have to expect it now with so many iterations of Batman. He's got to disappear on Gordon.
It's funny you say that too.
Iconic scene.
There are some expectations with Batman and Bruce Wayne, I think, and they did not do certain ones because I believe it's part of an arc that they're going to get to. He did do it like one time. He disappeared.
It's like Avengers Assemble. Like you want it so bad, and they'll just keep
I want
kiting you
Batman,
along until you deserve it.
But it was great to see him kind of hesitate at the jump and be like, oh shit, this is high, or not so graceful landing. I really did appreciate too the believability. You said Iron Man 1, where the gadgets and all the gizmos, it's grounded in a reality where it feels like, oh yeah, this could happen. Like this is a Batman. I said it to you, right? I was like, he's wearing fucking cargo pants, for God's sakes.
Yeah.
Combat boots.
It's legitimately just the stage 1 Batman. He's not even confident in himself. He's not even sure if he's doing the right thing. I really liked what you said, Chris, too, about the 2 meetings at the door, because I think that presented to the character his ability to do more as Bruce, and he wasn't understanding that before. Also, the thing with the money being used to pay for all the crime was actually like out of the Wayne Fund, and he was neglecting all of it. He was like, I don't care about the money. The accountants were trying to reach out to him, and he's not taking their calls. So I'm hoping.
I think he's going to take a hold of that now.
Yeah,
now that he knows that
exactly.
renewal was used to pretty much fuck up the city, and it is the family legacy. They alluded to that when he met with the mayor, and she's like, I want to talk to you about this, and
be doing
next
more.
time we're going to talk about it again. Side note, too, just as far as the realism goes, how about when he fucking, and I love the attention to detail here, he takes out the fucking adrenaline needle, and then if you notice, he opens up like a little like hole in his leg, because that suit, you would think, since he's getting shot and stuff, would be impermeable. So for him to take a needle and just give himself an injection would kind of be, I don't know, a plot hole. But I thought it was sick. He had like the little like button chain,
little porthole there. Yep.
and just fucking popped it, and
Power
just
up.
fucking, because like that, and that makes sense. It's like, oh, he just took a fucking shot of adrenaline. Speaking of
Batman
Kill
just
Bill,
took Adderall,
right? It reminded me of Kill Bill when they bring back Uma Thurman when she's like,
No, that's
dead on the
Pulp
ground.
Fiction. That's Pulp Fiction.
Thank
yeah.
you, Pulp Fiction, same actress, right? That's what it reminded me of, and I that was just so fucking cool when he did that.
The only thing I thought that was really awkward is that Batman doesn't knock on doors, and there was zero stealth in this movie.
The third time he went to the door, there was stealth.
He's
So,
learning
yeah,
that.
I mean, he wasn't Batman. He just kind of slipped in.
And
under
he went
the-
into the whole sewer system with.
But
like,
he's
the
learning
cargo.
that. That was the third iteration of the door. Was he
Sure.
learned to be stealthy?
One of those moments that really stood out to me, to your point, Joe, is when he walks in the room with all the cops. That never fucking happens. He was always in the room with Gordon, and he would disappear before anyone else got there.
We're all looking at him, like mocking him, and
I have a feeling that in a future movie, something's going to happen where he's going to lose the trust of the cops, and he's going to be forced to work on his own.
Of course, just like that was Dark Knight.
If the
100%.
cops were corrupt in it.
Well, plot hole. One thing that caught my eye.
Oh,
one thing.
no, that's fine.
The mayor gets shot in the stomach, right? She's bleeding
Yeah,
out.
that,
She's
I was a little like,
she's
wait.
fucked up, and then the flood comes, and then Batman.
She's
She like
just
walks
fine.
out behind Batman, and
Yeah.
I was like, if you get shot in the
Wasn't
stomach, you ain't
glancing
fucking
about
walking
around like a
nowhere.
minute
So
ago.
Especially
yeah.
not with all that like seawater.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
just that was the only thing that in my head I went.
Well, hold on. Me
whatever.
and Rob, actually, I have to close up because we couldn't contain our laughter. They fucking showed everything on the news, man.
Oh yeah,
It was like a
oh,
snuff
God,
film. the
Imagine
news.
like just watching like
somebody
the
die,
news,
get
and they're
eaten
just
by
showing
rats.
like all these shit. Like
I mean, they
Well,
have
They
that.
showed the guy get eaten by rats on the
going
news.
that
They don't-
direction.
YouTube,
We're going that direction.
YouTube, yeah, on the
Twitter,
internet,
they
yeah.
have that.
we're not
On the
but we're
internet,
talking
but
about, like
not on News
12,
12.
12, and now there's
Right,
like
right.
fucking.
They would
just
be like,
wait,
we're
man.
not going to show you this because it's too graphic.
5
They
years.
literally are like putting snuff films on the
Yeah.
news. They showed, what was the two things? It was the guy getting eaten by rats, right?
Oh, then the audio message of the girl getting killed.
Yeah, the girl getting
Oh,
strangled.
right.
We're gonna
Right,
play
right.
somebody get strangled
Hmm.
alive for you.
I
You're
thought of
gonna
something I
listen to
didn't like.
this. That was just so
Did-
ridiculous.
Did
And
anybody kind of find did anybody feel a similarity between the Riddler's video and the Joker's video? Just saying. You know, when Heath Ledger does the selfie video,
Yeah.
it's like, this is how crazy everybody's
Yeah.
going in Gotham,
Yeah.
you know? And then they did a selfie video
Yeah.
with the Riddler, and I was like,
Yeah.
all right, I mean,
Yeah.
I just love The Dark Knight, so anything
but how
that
else would
even-
it be done?
I feel like
You
the
know?
video is
It was
more
a-
the Riddler's thing than the Joker's thing.
Yeah.
If anything. Because if you
Oh,
remember
Joker's-
the
the
Arkham,
Joker's
I
always
just
going
mean
on
in
if
terms
you
television.
of,
remember the
I'm just
Arkham
talking about
games,
the
the Arkham
movie.
games, like the Riddler definitely wants to be seen. He
89
wants to
Batman,
be-
Oh,
Joker's on TV
But
all
the
the time.
Joker's a broadcast. I
He
think
is a
is what he's trying-
broadcast.
It's a broadcast,
Broadcast.
versus like a
Yeah.
a contained
Yeah.
environment.
That's
Exactly.
kind of
textbook
thing.
what the Zodiac Killer
Exactly.
did. He would send letters to the police and just fuck with them. That's why it was all like a big troll. He would send letters to
He
the
wanted to read
media
about himself.
to
Yeah.
just fuck with them
He
because
had ciphers that didn't mean shit. It was
Right.
just, it was a big, it was a red herring.
I think there's
It was a
still
goose
ciphers that
chase.
haven't been cracked, but he just wanted to fuck with people and scare people. And like he would, as time went on, he realized like, oh, I have power here. I could control like people's fear in the media, and he would start making these rules. Like this, I'm talking about the Zodiac Killer. He would be like I said last time, you have to wear this hat and you'll be safe. And he gets
Oh,
this
yeah, I
sort of
remember that.
control. So if he's based off the Zodiac Killer, which he was, the Zodiac Killer did exactly that. That's textbook. You like manipulate people, make them afraid by you using the news. So
Well, I mean, if you think about it, for a large part of the film, the Riddler's the hero.
Well, that's
To,
always
to, the,
he's
to,
the-
the, to the unknowing people.
To the
yeah, he's
unknowing, I mean,
hero.
he's the one who stopped the crime lords.
he did.
He
There
took out,
He technically fought
He-
corruption.
Falcone. He killed him.
he's inspired by Batman,
Yeah,
so he thinks he's doing the right
He had
thing.
Batman kind of bring Falcone out into the light, and he killed him.
I love that
That's-
when they were at Arkham and he was like, "Hey, we did it," and he's like, "What the? We did what?" It's like, "We did it. We got him." And
Right,
Batman
right,
was
right,
like, "I didn't do shit. What do you mean?"
Yeah.
He fell into that, and it was
Yeah.
like that was probably like an oh shit moment.
Yeah.
He was like, "Oh, I need to be like,
You've changed things. It's
Yeah.
100% up that same vein of
Yeah.
like, you inspired me to do this.
Mm.
Nobody knows what Batman's rules are.
Yeah.
Batman knows his rule. I
Right,
don't
right,
kill
right.
people, but nobody else does.
Right.
So what he then what Bruce realizes is, oh shit, like I'm inspiring all of this. How can I become more? How can I make it the change? Because when the woman grabs his arm and he can see that she trusts him in that moment,
Thought
and
was
that
cool.
represents the city kind of in general. He wants to elevate himself to make sure, I think, that doesn't happen in that way. But of course, every time, it just inspires the worst.
Well,
you
calling
know? It
back to that
inspires
too.
the
Think
Joker.
about at the train station when those kids, and I also thought that was cool how they had the kids watching like the knockout videos, because that was a thing where kids
Yeah.
would just walk up and fucking crack
Shitheads.
an old guy in the head
Yep,
and
still
he'd
a thing.
like die. It was like a thing a couple of years ago,
I remember.
and I thought that was kind of cool that they
They
did
even
that.
did that to Rick Moranis a couple of years ago. They
Yeah, he
punched
got
him in the
attacked. I
face,
remember
yeah.
that. But now, if you remember, he saves that guy, and the guy's like, "Don't hurt me," and he kind of just like looks at him and leaves.
That scene also, like, I think could have had a little bit more pizzazz to it.
I thought that was
he-
badass when he fucking.
Well, hold
walked
on,
up to those
because
kids.
that's the first time you actually see Batman, and he just
Right.
walks out from the shadows.
right.
Yeah,
He's just like, all right, I'm here, let's go.
It gave
You know,
me.
he had no like entrance. He had no like, I don't know. It just, to me, it just didn't have as much impact. Like, this is the first time you're seeing this version of the Batman on screen. He just walks out of the shadows like, hey guys.
strolls out. I mean, it makes sense because
this
he's
is-
not going to come flying down yet.
He's using the shadows to instill like the fear of God in everyone, because it's
Right.
like maybe he just
He's
walks
in
out of
that
this corner
shadow.
today.
They
like,
built up to it for a
Yeah,
while. They
it
showed the
was- they were-
helicopters,
yeah,
the
yeah,
bat
yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
they
signals,
definitely
people
show that
running.
people are afraid of Batman already.
But
They're
no,
afraid
I
of
know
the
what
shadows
looking out for him.
specifically. Yeah, I get
Every
I get
other
what you
movie,
mean.
when Batman's first introduced, when you first see
Oh
him
yeah,
on
when
screen,
Keaton comes
it's a
on
scene.
screen
right?
as
He comes.
Batman,
It's
like,
impactful.
iconic.
It's
Holy shit.
adrenaline
Right.
pumping. You know.
But that's
Uh,
where it comes full circle.
kinda
Is at
flat.
the end when the water's there and he takes the lady by the hand. That's another like scene that's revisited. Where in the beginning the guy was afraid and he's like whatever, and at the end he's like I am gonna be a better person and like try to make people trust me and want to
Yeah.
help them.
Something too, if it's like deeper in terms of like the cinematography too, is a lot of the shots with Batman in the beginning are close, narrow, congested shots, especially around the Iceberg Club, where it's very like the shot is like you get like an inch of Gotham streets to the side, and then it's the subway tracks above and the inside of that, and it's meant to feel very claustrophobic and small. And in a way, that's kind of like you can almost view that as like the city around Bruce's perspective. Like Gotham is very like compressed and very congested, and like it's claustrophobic. You can't move in it. It's like choking him in a way. But as the movie goes on, you notice that there's more wide spanning shots. Like Gotham, in a way, opens up as the movie progresses, and like the
He's riding a
Gotham,
motorcycle.
yeah,
and-
Gotham becomes more open to Batman. Like in the end, that last shot where
And
he's
while I
moving
give
through
it
the
an
water.
8.7, I'm looking forward to a sequel. There's no question.
Yeah, let's
I'm
actually
definitely
go there.
looking forward
Let's
to
actually go to our next topic. That's a good segue, Rob. Sequel wise, what do you want? If like Vin said, this becomes like a Nolan trilogy. Like, what do you want out of the next one?
I want to see more of, it's tough because this is a very grounded Batman. So I don't know how into the fantasy they're gonna go. Like, are we gonna see like a Victor Freeze character? I mean, I think that he has probably some of the most depth of any villain.
I'm Mr. White Christmas.
I'm not talking about
I'm Mr.
Schwarzenegger,
Snow.
like actual Victor Freeze with his wife and
Yeah.
and like that story. I always found that dynamic to be interesting because Batman can see why
Yeah.
it happens. Like
Yeah.
almost the most justified of Batman's villains for what he does. Because think of the person that you cherish the most in this world, and you have the ability, just not the technology, to save the person that you love. You would do anything, in that moment.
So you want Mr. Freeze 100%?
So I would love to see Mr. Freeze. But if I would say like top 3 Batman villains that I'd love to see,
We're going there yet, or we're just jumping the gun?
Let's do that. Let's do top 3.
Top 3 Batman villains.
So I would say top 3. I would say Mr. Freeze is one of them. I'd like to see Clayface. I love
Wow.
Clayface. I always loved Clayface, and he was one of my favorite figures too. But that would create an interesting dynamic. Imagine there's somebody that can turn into anyone, and the kind of problems that can create. And that will be a good way for Batman to lose face with the Gotham City Police Department if Clayface is pretending to be Batman and doing like some shit as him.
It's
Then
like
he
the
kind
plot
of
to
loses
Mario.
all that progress that he made with the city. But he realizes that he still has a job to do, and he's still a symbol.
Mm.
So that could be like an interesting thing. And Two-Face, but like a real gangster Two-Face, like animated series style Two-Face, where he was the DA, he was a little hot-headed. He was a good guy initially, but he always had that little fresh side, and then it really comes out with the explosion. I'd love to see like a well-executed Harvey Dent. I personally did not like the Two-Face from the Nolan trilogy, and I think they could do him a lot better.
All right.
And an honorable mention to the ventriloquist, because I don't think
Yeah.
Scarface gets enough love.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I definitely am on board with you with Mr. Freeze. Nice to see you again, Batman. Freeze in hell. Who would you cast though as Mr. Freeze this time? Is the big question. You'd have to kind of go older, younger, somebody who can portray that kind of accent with that type of like intelligence and yet strength.
Not Paul Giamatti.
Couldn't help himself.
No, not Paul Giamatti is the
Paul
right
Giamatti is
Arnold,
Mr.
Arnold
Freeze.
just played Zeus. Maybe he's old enough
No,
to play another
no.
Mr. Freeze.
Zeus,
I'm
no.
hopeful.
You're not sending me to the cooler.
That is a good question.
I'm
You think
hopeful.
the dude that played Vision would probably be a good.
Paul Bettany.
Oh,
Yeah.
actually, that's a good idea. Actually, that's
Bettany.
yeah,
I think he would be.
yeah,
a
yeah,
good,
yeah, 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 yeah. I
Victor
could totally
Freeze,
see that.
I
right?
see that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's actually good. That's a really good choice.
Cunning.
At the top of
He's
your head.
very smart.
Yes.
Yeah.
Jeremy
Yes.
Irons.
I definitely will say
He's already been out.
just a big warning, spoilers. At the end of the movie, they do kind of make a reference that we don't know yet, but it could possibly be Joker, who's caged up in Arkham Asylum across from the Riddler.
Seems
He
to
makes
be.
a reference to the clown kind of motif. They also start laughing hysterically together because now they're friends.
Of crime.
So yeah, you can't have a Batman without a Joker. So Joker's at my high top
It's
of the
interesting
list.
if that is him, that he's already in his Arkham Asylum. Does
Yeah.
that mean has he already tangled with Batman, or is he in there because he's just bots and he gets out and becomes the Joker? Like,
That's the thing about
it'd be
the Joker.
interesting.
We don't really have there is no true origin. They never dedicated themselves to one. They always played
Joaquin
with the
Phoenix did.
idea of
what do you think, Joey?
Eh.
Who do you think's going to be?
So yeah, Victor Freeze, the Joker, and I'm gonna throw in something there that just there hasn't been in a Batman movie to date, and I love it in the animated series. I loved it in the Arkham Asylum games. Is the Mad Hatter.
Love it.
I think he can pull off in the type of setting that they've already made for this type of movie, where it's very noir, it's very Sin City feel to it. I think the Mad Hatter would kind of play well into kind of this city that they've made. So
I agree.
yeah, that'd be cool. Sweet. How about you? 3 villains, and what do you want next from the sequel?
Well, I'd say, I mean, I don't know the Mad Hatter, but do you know like where the concept of the Mad Hatter comes from?
One
No,
Alice in
never.
Wonderland.
Well, but where that comes from. Apparently, this is my understanding, is like hat makers used to use like I think mercury in hat making, and like I don't know, it just fucking like fucked up their brain and made them a little crazy. That's where the term mercurial comes from. It's somebody that's kind of wacky. So I want to see villains that are kind of grounded in reality. I want to see them kind of stick to their guns of like nothing too crazy and
Killer
fantastical.
Croc.
Though Victor Freeze would be pretty fucking cool. 'Cause,
Oh,
I mean, you
yeah.
could just have a guy with liquid nitrogen spray
The
people. And,
creeper.
that's all you need. You just need a guy to walk around the city with a can of liquid nitrogen and spray people, and he's a sick fuck, So that's really I can't say villain. I mean, we know we're gonna see the Joker. I hope it's good. I'm sure it will be. But Joker is always a role that everybody's gonna be very, very critical.
Mhm.
Everyone's gonna be looking at this Joker with a lens, like they
I
always
wonder if
have.
this Joker will have a Harley Quinn. That'd be interesting.
That would be interesting. I feel
And
like
would
we're
it be
going to see more
Margot
Penguin.
Robbie?
No,
I don't think it would be.
Probably not.
this
no.
does not.
Yeah.
He said Matt Reeves said this does not exist in that.
I knew, but
Yeah, he was like,
sometimes
"Nope."
they bring over actors from other roles.
I thought it was cool that Vin said he recognized the actor that played the Riddler, but I thought it was cool that they
You mean the Joker?
no the Riddler in
Oh.
in this latest movie. Who was that actor?
It's from the movie The Girl Next Door was like the big one for him.
Yeah, that guy was really good. I mean, I said it after the movie. I feel like every time like he had a moment of satisfaction, he was just like "Ah," like he's jizzing in his pants, like "Ah," every time he fucking has a moment that he wants.
He can't
Am
go an
I
episode
wrong?
without saying jizz.
I'm gonna say Joe. Am I wrong? Did he
Am I
not look
wrong?
like he's just sitting there, like fucking climaxing every time that he like?
Yeah, he
It's
definitely had
not
that
wrong
creepy
'cause
vibe.
clearly
It's just-
somebody who is as isolated as he is and what he's
Right.
been doing would be
Oh, he's
satisfied
euphoric to
by
him.
Right.
the
Yeah.
and
So,
just like the way that he spoke. But anyway, I want to see more villains like that. I want to see ones that are grounded in reality.
Did you pick 3?
Eggman.
I kind of can't pick 3 because the 3 that I would pick would be Joker, more Penguin, and I can't really think of the Victor Freeze. I guess
Take a shot every time we say grounded in reality this episode.
Yeah. Well,
Grounded in
but that's what I like about it. I don't
Okay.
want this fantastical. Like, if it gets a little bit more, that's cool. Like, because I feel like when it comes to magic or whatever,
Even Mr.
superpowers-
Freeze, like nobody has a freeze ray. It's
yeah. Which
You know
I
what
mean, hey, that would be a big ask of me because it's fucking Batman. It's a
Well, with
superhero
Batman, it was-
movie.
yeah.
There's gonna be some shit like that. So
Technology.
I just like that they didn't like take too many liberties with that. I appreciate that. I want to see them continue doing that. I want to see him become the Bruce that you're talking about. I want to see
Yeah.
him like realize like, okay, this is like who I am, and lean into it a little bit. And
And he has to be that way to kind of get certain things from certain people too.
Right, exactly, and I mean he already
Assertive.
is. And some
Yeah.
obviously people react to him, whatever way. But
It's all a bit technical. Didn't you get the memo? Everybody's looking for that moment.
Yeah.
The Bruce ascends and takes control back of his company, and I think it seems like we want to see that payoff in the upcoming one.
and what I also want to see. One last thing is I want to see more Batman in like hoodies and like when he was walking around just like with the hoodie and then like the
Half
face
bat.
paint, like he really was like, come on, is Batman in reality, unless you're really skulking in the shadows and flying around, like you're pretty hard to miss if you're in a giant bat suit. You know what I mean?
with a cape
Batmobile?
flowing in the
With the cape flowing. So, I want to see more like, because in reality, you would be kind of trying to blend in with the crowd. So when he came in and like he had the hoodie on and then like the cargo pants, but then he like goes into the room and he rips it all off and now he's Batman again. I want to see more shit. Like that.
Batman.
I am vengeance. I am the night.
And I like that they called him Vengeance too. They were like, "Hey, Vengeance." That was kind of cool. It was just a little
A
different.
little snarky,
You know?
but also true.
Hey, vengeance.
He calls himself Vengeance. So
Actually, that's a Marvel
Vengeance.
character. That's Ghost Rider's bad.
But you,
And-
Ben.
You know, if it's top 3 villains, the Joker's top villain, I think across all.
Gonna be on everybody's
Yeah,
list.
it's how do you leave them off? I don't know. Ones that I anticipate seeing might be different than the ones I want, but I almost feel like there might be a Poison Ivy or a female lead villain in the next one. If I don't know if Catwoman's gonna, if they're gonna have Zoe Kravitz return and all that.
Please.
But, yeah, I hope so because obviously she's a big pull to it.
It's interesting if they mention Bloodhaven too.
Yeah.
Oh, really? What's that?
So that's the city that when Dick Grayson leaves and becomes Nightwing,
Mm-hmm.
that's the city he protects.
Mhm.
Nailed part of my wish list then. Okay, cool.
To finish it off.
So yeah, I mean, I'd say Joker, Riddler, Victor Freeze. Those are like the top 3 Batman villains I could think of.
You want the Riddler again?
Oh no, I'm sorry. I thought we were just naming top 3, but 3 we anticipate or we'd want to see.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So what's another good one? It's hard because we're talking about this whole grounded thing and which ones would you expect and how would they approach it, but
Killer Croc. Paul Giamatti as
No,
the Killer Croc.
please.
It doesn't all need to be
Yeah,
villains
shit.
too. I mean, what about
Absolutely.
allies? Like it would be cool if we saw Robin.
or Red Hood, but
Yeah,
we
yeah.
have to
Azrael.
get there. Yeah.
I was thinking Azrael. I was like, yeah.
Who the fuck's Azrael?
Azrael takes over the mantle of Batman when Batman's back gets broken by Bane.
Mm.
Then he goes bad.
Wouldn't
and then
even mention
Bruce has to
Bane
fucking kill
at all.
him.
Yeah.
It's a-
Interesting.
The world might be a little overkill on Bane at this point, but
Bane
Bane's
would be
actually
sick.
Bane's
Good
actually
Bane.
as intelligent, if not more so, than Batman. So
I thought the
he's a hell of a
Riddler,
detective as well.
he had a better Bane voice. Riddler in this movie had a better Bane voice than Bane in the movie, in my
That's fair.
opinion.
Fair.
You feel in charge.
Yeah, I hate that. I'm sorry, Tom. I would love to see them. I don't know how you do it now because of how young this guy is, but maybe I guess by a 3rd movie, quote unquote, a real good portrayal of Dick Grayson and Robin, like
Right.
cool, because that shows such another part of Batman because he's such a dick to him, right?
Do you think they
Batman,
alluded
Bruce
to that?
Wayne is so.
I think there's going to be more to come with that kid.
Yeah, they alluded
right.
to
They,
that.
they did
strong.
kind of show him
Kid,
a lot. That's
yeah.
true. They didn't really say who.
I mean, the kid was a sympathetic figure towards like how Batman felt when that happened to him.
Yeah.
So he was kind of looking at the kid's eyes through a lens of reminiscing what happened to him on that gloomy night. But yeah, we've had a Dick Grayson origin story in Batman Forever, where he was in a circus act and
Yep.
I
Two-Face.
wonder if it'll be him or if it'll be
Nipple
somebody
suit.
like Jason Todd.
That's what I would like to see. I would like to
Like Jason
see a
Todd.
different take on Robin. I would like to see possibly Jason Todd. But if you don't start with Dick Grayson, you won't get Nightwing.
exactly.
So it's almost like you have to go to the first Robin. So
And also keep it focused on Batman, because they're not. I don't think Matt Reeves is interested in spawning a universe,
Yeah.
as much as DC, I'm sure, and Warner Brothers is.
I don't know. They're like that Penguin show's coming out. They're starting to
I was
like,
surprised to
break
hear
apart. Like you don't
That's
know.
on
Colin
HBO
Farrell,
as well,
yeah,
right?
you don't know.
He was one funny story I saw. He was on, he's doing late night this week, so he was explaining that when he was on set, people that he knew directly.
Colin Farrell.
Yeah, sorry,
Okay.
Colin Farrell was on set. People that he knew directly would look at him and then go to like the director and go, "Who's this guy on the set?" And then
That's
they'd
great.
say who it is, and then they would
awesome.
go look at Farrell, and they'd have to like look into his eyes. They were like, "Is he doing that?" He was that.
They
like,
did such
it
a
was
good
good.
job.
It was
Yeah.
incredible.
Very good.
It was
that was
incredible.
Like, excellent.
Excellent.
Completely different person.
I don't know how they do that prosthetic because that
They had to
looked
put like a
unreal.
whole face on him. Like they.
And it's tough because if you base the villains off that portrayal of Penguin, fantastical is out the fucking window basically because there's nothing that makes him represent a penguin in
He's
any
a
way, shape, or
sleazebag,
form.
really, more than
Yeah,
anything.
he's just a
Yeah.
mob.
But he may be.
sleaze.
He's gonna probably rise in power now that Falcone's gone, right?
Oh,
Oswald,
absolutely.
Oswald
That's-
Cobblepot is his name. Penguin is his like
alias.
alias, his
Exactly.
nickname.
And I just mean the
Right.
the flippers.
Right,
and
right,
the-
right, right,
the-
right.
they're not going to go that way. So
Right,
if you
right,
talk
right.
about a freeze or you talk about a poison ivy or whatever Clayface.
I think
Clayface is a
Poison
good one,
Ivy
but
fits-
that's hard.
Yeah, that is a
I think
cool one.
Poison Ivy, you're on the money. I think she fits really well in a grounded,
Yeah, if they did like a
reality
global
based.
warming kind of thing
Yeah, yeah,
with her,
yeah.
I
We
could
talked-
definitely see
We
that.
definitely
Yep.
talked about that. Yeah, that seems to be good.
The kid also. I was just looking this up. The kid is the mayor. Is
The mayor's
Kid.
the
son.
son
Yeah.
of Don Mitchell Jr. is the mayor's name, but they didn't give the kid a name, so it could be anything.
Gotcha.
It could be
Well, Jason Todd could be like his first name
Could
and
be-
his middle name.
yeah,
Jason Todd Mitchell.
His mother's
Exactly.
maiden name because
Right.
the mayor's corrupt.
Correct.
You know,
Exactly,
and
yeah.
you can't have that
Correct.
name anymore.
Yeah.
I think there's something to that.
Yeah.
Sick. It's a bright
Zach,
future.
you want to finish us off with the 3 villains and what you expect?
I think I took pretty much what I was going to say. I think Poison Ivy is the number one for the next movie, especially after the flooding and the catastrophe to Gotham of,
environmental crises.
exactly. A perfect setup for Poison Ivy, I feel like. The world has got to fight back, and, maybe some lunatic in this, South Gotham is like, oh, we're better without all this shit on the streets. Water being here is great. It could set up something like that, I want to see Red Hood. I love Red Hood. I love that whole story. I think someone who has such a something bitter, someone who was bitter against Batman for whatever reason. I don't know the story. I'm not a big Batman fanatic, but I played Arkham City and all that. The whole Arkham series, and Red Hood was such a cool character, and I think that'd be good.
I was thinking about I wonder if we'll ever get origins of where he learned this. You know what I mean? Like, where did he learn any of this?
Yeah.
Kind of had to be Batman
Yeah.
thing.
I don't want that. We
not
already
that I
seen
want to
that.
see it. I don't want to see. I'm just curious.
Like
if
a
they're gonna-
flashback.
Seems like they
maybe?
were
Is it a
alluding
Ra's
to
al
that.
Ghul? Is it
I think
one
Alfred
of these...
helped teach him. He said, I can teach you how to defend yourself
Right.
or whatever. I wasn't able to
fight,
save
yeah.
your father.
Gotcha.
It'd be interesting
feel
if
like
a Ra's al
Alfred
Ghul
was-
comes along later and makes him the sharpened blade that he
Oh,
becomes.
I see what you're saying. Okay.
I would also like to see Slade Wilson. I'd like to see a good Slade Wilson, not the Arrow Slade Wilson. Maybe Joe Manganiello or Slade Wilson. I don't know. I like Joe Manganiello. Sue me. But a cool Slade Wilson would make sense because now that you've got the power struggle in Gotham and someone, the fight for the top, and Batman is the only thing opposing them at the end of the day, it would make sense for them to hire a mercenary to take out this guy who's equally as badass. So,
Yeah.
If anything, it would be interesting if
Court
he's
of Owls?
more qualified than Batman.
yeah, no,
Court
when
of
they
Owls.
first
Court of Owls
That's
is
what
another
I've
one I
heard
was going to
a
say.
lot.
Court of
Court of
Owls.
Owls would be
Yeah.
phenomenal because they are
That
That's
can
never been
definitely.
portrayed in a
that
movie
that
yet,
would
right?
be a Batman horror movie. I
They
think.
can
Court of
definitely.
Owls, the Long Halloween. There's
Yeah.
like a lot of
Odd.
stories that they can go. They're
Hush.
super.
That's
yeah,
smart.
Hush.
That's a good one.
But yeah,
Another one.
that's my. I'm not a big Batman fanatic, which is why I was very impressed with the movie, and I have a limited exposure to it. I've played the Arkham series.
So good.
I've watched a little bit of the animated series, and I've obviously watched the movies. But yeah, I don't have too much comic knowledge. But Court of Owls is the only thing I've actually ever looked into as far as comics go. But yeah, that's my hopes for the series, and I hope Pattinson buffs up for the next movie too.
I think that's going to happen.
He
over
deserves to
time.
said
eat.
that.
He
Yeah.
deserves to eat.
Yeah, he
Yeah,
needs. He
Joe
needs
wanted
a
to say
sandwich.
that. One other gripe too. I know that you didn't mention, Ben, that you mentioned several times though after we saw it was just their use of the score.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
right.
Just one time too many. Maybe 2 times, but one time. That music, that Batman score that they put together, the gentleman you said,
Giacchino.
awesome. Like
Good song.
great build up, intimidating, scary almost.
Intense.
Very intense, but they used it, I want to say 5 major times in the movie. I think it was upon every Batman emergence, if he's walking with the explosion behind him or he's walking out of the shadow at some point. I just remember it happening one time too many, and it just took away from the impact of it. And they used the Nirvana song, I want to say 3 or 4
Twice,
times.
I thought.
Was
it just
it?
the beginning and the end? I thought.
Yeah, it was
I-
when.
I thought that
beginning
kind of
was
made it
just the
go
beginning
full
and the end?
circle
Okay,
too.
okay.
I felt like that kind of brung it around.
One of the
love that
things that I
song.
saw on Twitter today is they were kind of just like people who actually got to see it early, like we did. They were saying that Robert Pattinson or Batman, Bruce Wayne or Batman, one or the other, was in like 95% of the scenes in the entire movie. Like he's in every scene.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
That's-
a scene kind of goes into him again. where he
It's-
comes out and it's a scene where you get to see him again.
It-
Like the Batman is the name of the movie, so he's in like almost every single scene, and that for me is another reason why I felt it was just like overload. Like he was overexposed in this movie.
I got you.
But all in all, I think we all like really loved it. We really enjoyed it. Definitely chime in the comment section. You know,
Please.
what villains do you guys want to see next? After you see the movie, you know, what did you think of the movie? Go ahead, throw us in a review. Give us a score. Are you closer to the 8.5, you know, family, or are you in the 9s? So definitely we want to hear what your thoughts are. If you enjoyed this episode, please like, comment, share, subscribe.
Yeah.
We really
if you guys
appreciate
watched
that.
this long, you must have liked it. So tell your friends.
Thanks for
Absolutely.
watching. Thanks so much.
Robbie, baby, you want to take us home?
I appreciate it once again. Like he said, like, comment, subscribe. This is the Break Room Podcast. Snooch to the booch.
Tune in tomorrow. Same bat time, same bat channel.
Great Scots! It's been almost an hour. What the devil are they doing?